People who strive to speak truthfully. What is the most trouble you've gotten in for telling the truth? At my last job during training we had to do an anonymous review of our trainer. I was respectful and honest, but it was not a good review of her. I explained why she was bad at training and how she wasn't receptive to questions. Little did I know anonymous meant anonymous to her, but not anonymous to the person reviewing. The person reviewing it was the training supervisor and had chosen her as the lead trainer. He took my honest review as a criticism to the whole program and a criticism to his hiring ability. I was put under a microscope at that point and seen as a problem maker and was ultimately fired. That completely defeats the purpose of an honest review. Once I was in a job interview and the owner, now a CEO of a large Australian corporation, asked me if I would lie in order to get his company more profits. I said no. He was incredulous. I didn't get the job, but I got a different one in the same company. A completely unqualified person got the job I was going for. Everyone I worked with hated the place. Hated. I have never seen such an unhappy workforce. I joined the Exodus 6 weeks later. About 10 years ago, a friend and co-worker of mine was fired for something I did. I mean, he literally was not there when it happened. So he called HR, told them what had happened. HR called me and asked me to confirm. I even went to several managers trying to explain that I was in fact the one responsible, that my friend was not even at work when the incident happened, and even if he had been, I still would have been responsible because it was my doing. Instead of rehiring my friend and writing me up, they just called me a liar, and that was pretty much my reputation with the managers after that. The only time I ever actually lied to a manager while working there, it was because I was too embarrassed to tell my manager that I had hemorrhoids, so I just said I had a bug. I was too embarrassed to tell my manager that I had hemorrhoids, so I just said I had a bug. I wouldn't call that a lie, I'd call that half-truth. Not me, but a good friend of mine was working as a student teacher at a high school. He had saved up 3 or 4 sick days at the end of the year and decided he was going to use them to go camping and rock climbing. Instead of simply telling his boss he was sick, like a normal person, he told them he was going to use his sick days to go play outside and rock climb. Needless to say, they were not happy. When I asked him WTF he was thinking, he said he was shocked they were upset that he was being honest with them. Best friend since middle school had started dating a girl end of high school life. Major drama queen stuff. She constantly accused him of cheating, snuck through his email account, flirted with guys to make him jealous, yelled and screamed all the time. Example, as a college freshman on break, after one of their many fights I followed her home to keep an eye on her as she threatened suicide before leaving. It was a toxic relationship. From hatred to macchiato in seconds at any time. Eventually in my sophomore year of college they broke up. Of course he is all about how she is the worst human in the world, how free he is, etc. Fast forward 1 year later and neither have found anyone. He calls one day to say that he is back with her and head over heels. They are almost immediately engaged. All his friends think it is a bad idea but keep quiet. I pulled him aside and let him know that while I would always be there for him, this was stupid. She was not good for him. It would not last. It was too fast. This would crash and burn. He needed to pump the brakes. He of course told her what I said and she blew up. He ghosted me and we stopped being friends. Didn't talk for years. And when we run into each other in town even now, 20 years later, it is awkward. More for him than me because 5 years later, with 2 kids, they each cheated on the other. They divorced. He is now married to her former best friend and she slept with one of his friends before moving as payback. Just a total, trashy disaster. And everyone could see it coming. Still think I did the right thing, but it made no difference and in the end, the only measurable result was that our friendship ended. No, you did the right thing. It would hurt more to have the front row seat to that. It's rough, but at least you know there was a time when you had a great friendship, and now you've grown up and moved on. A teacher asked me who broke the laptop on her desk. I told her I think she did when she put the projector down on it for a minute while she was getting the cart ready. I got in trouble for lying, breaking the computer, talking back, and acting out in class. My dad had to show up and blow a gasket at the principal before they punished me and admitted put a 30-pound projector on top of an Apple laptop wasn't a good idea and that the dent on the back of the screen did look a bit like the circular foot on the projector. The principal said my teacher would apologize for yelling at me in front of the class but she never did. Frick you Mrs. H. Where's my apology? RP Upload. My BFF had 2 boys and they both spoke with speech impediments. They couldn't pronounce their R's, like that character on The Big Bang. Their elementary school tried getting them into speech therapy but she wouldn't allow it because she thought their speech impediments were cute. I asked her if she ever heard an adult speak like that and I was basically dead to her from that day on. As a true friend, you need to keep it 100% with them. Anyone who doesn't isn't a true friend. I jaff what she thinks. Keeping her kids from getting the therapy they clearly needed and was free through the school is straight up abuse. They're 15 and 16 now and still talk like that. As someone with a lisp I haven't been able to shake, although I haven't had speech therapy. Broke college kid. All that. Thank you. When I was in junior high, my close friend who lived in my neighborhood was being beaten by her parents. I was riding my bike one night past their house and heard it. She admitted it too. I told my adjustment counselor at school. The counselor, unethically and illegally, told my friend that I had tackled. DCF got involved but as usual, never did much about it. I am still fairly bitter that the counselor didn't lose her job over it. I almost lost one of my best friends when I honestly told her what I thought about her new relationship. She had previously been in a disastrous relationship with a partner who would constantly take advantage of her. She paid all the bills, constantly loaned her partner money and got emotionally abused. Her new boyfriend lost his job and was seriously bad at adulting. Missed deadlines led to missed opportunities. He blamed everyone else for his dismal financial situation, didn't make an effort to get a job and he complained and whined a lot to her. Like her previous partner he started to get really dependent on her and clingy. So when my friend and I talked about different things, this topic popped up. I told her honestly that she had this strange need to fix people which leads her to get involved with partners who will use her to fix their problems or just unload all of their emotional issues on her. At this point I was the one she turned to whenever she got frustrated, so I recognized the pattern. Anyway, she wasn't thrilled. Basically told me I had no idea and no right to talk about her relationship, despite me being the emotional garbage bin she had used to unload all her stress in. We didn't speak for months until she and her boyfriend broke up and she admitted that I've had a point. Well hey, at least your friend had enough self-awareness to realize you had a point. Not everyone gets there. Cops busted a small party in college and asked everyone for IDs and if they had been drinking. They said either you tell the truth, or we will breathalyze you. If you fall you are going to jail. I was 20 and terrified, so I decided to cooperate because I didn't know any better. I wasn't drunk and had no alcohol with me, but was honest and told the cop that I had a drink at my dorm before coming over. Everyone else I was with either snuck away or flat out lied. Nobody was breathalyzed and I got a wonderful ticket for $700. They recorded me saying I drank at my dorm and sent it to the university who made me take 8 hours of alcohol ed classes and do 20 hours of community service. Never admit to drinking if you are underage. Lie, lie, lie. The whole if you tell us the truth we will help you out is all bulls. I've never been questioned by police but when I was in high school, if an adult caught us they always asked where we got it and who bought it for us. My whole friend group, no matter what, would always say, found it in a brown paper bag by the railroad tracks. Didn't matter to us if they believed it or not. We would say that and only that. I'm not the most honest person ever, but I did choose to tell my mum the truth about my father. I found out that he was cheating on her for about 2 months when I was using his phone, and I thought about it for a few weeks and decided that my mum deserved to know. So I told her. It destroyed her, pretty much. She lost it and had a psychotic break. My younger brother was pretty messed up about that too, because seeing your parents fight every day isn't the best when you're 10. I don't regret it, but the consequences weren't pretty. I think the blame for everything goes on your father, not you. One time we noticed a dent in the family car which we used to go to school. My dad was under a lot of pressure at the time and no one wanted to trouble him with this, so older brother and mom convinced me to take it to a local shop to have them fix it, which eventually I caved and did. Walking back home after dropping the car, my dad's store was on the way, so I decided to stop by and tell him everything. And man, did I get yelled at. Suddenly I was blamed for everything and he made sure I know it. He was mostly pee because the shop guy is in fact an idiot who would probably frick it up even more. After he was done yelling at me, he called the guy and told him not to touch the car. Then he decided to tell me that the dent was in fact happened while he was using the car. TLDR. Got yelled at after confessing for trying to fix dent of unknown origins in car by my dad. Turns out it was his fault. If the dent is big enough to take it to a body shop over, dad will have noticed it before it happened. In middle school, we had this science teacher who was a pretty cool guy, veteran, wrote poetry, overall nice. But on this one assignment, he asked at one point, what grade do you think you should get? Not wanting to oversell myself, I said a 90%. All these other people who had done much less on the assignment put 100s, and I thought he would ridicule them for saying that bad work was an A+. When we got the papers back, everyone got exactly what they gave themselves. There's a lesson in here somewhere, but I am not quite sure of what it is yet. You know it. Life is a B. You don't have to lie to yourself. My mom liked using the phrase, if you're crying, you're lying. When I was little, I had, and still have, trouble keeping my emotions steady during stressful conversations. So this kind of crap happened a few times. Something happens around the house and mom gets upset. Mom confronts me asking if I'm responsible. I say no, but being accused makes me upset and I cry. If you're crying, you're lying. I get punished, sometimes without even knowing what I did wrong. Met this lady at a party and friended her on FB in 2010. She was constantly posting fundraisers for her sick son. It was pretty annoying, so I unfriended her. I saw her again about 6 months later and she actually noticed I had unfriended her and was confrontational about it. So being drunk and honest, I said, you posted a lot about your kid and I thought it was annoying, so I unfriended the account. I'm not a good person. Predictably, she got super pee and made a big scene. Other people at the party thought I was an butthole. I didn't lose friends over it, but there was a lot of residual drama. Whatever. Don't play stupid games if you don't want stupid prizes. Anyway, a few months later she was arrested because she completely made up her son and all the fundraising stuff was a sham. I don't even get why people get bent out of shape over unfriending and unfollows. I got my driving license taken away from me. I live in the UK. Last January I had an epiphany about my life that led me to quit drinking and smoking and start on the road to becoming a paramedic. In applying for the HGV license, the job requires a doctor, asked me if it ever had any alcohol problems. I said yes and explained how I had quit some 4 months before so I could turn my life around. Then I had blood tests which were obviously clear. A couple of months later the DVLA contacted me to say not only could I not have the HGV license, but they were taking away my standard driving license too. I have never had any driving offenses or indeed any offenses of any kind. So they punished me simply for telling the truth about how I quit. I'm still trying to get it back. If they don't overturn this decision, it may prevent me from ever reaching my goal. Listen to Snoot Boop. That was not in their right to take away your basic license. They have no proof you ever had alcohol, not did you say you were driving under the influence. Get the license back and sue them extra for making life miserable, and for them to pay for the new license. I witnessed a fight in middle school. I went to tell a teacher. We, the two fighters and I, went to the room where punished students go during class time to talk stuff over. We sit in desks and wait. I think I'm gonna tell the teacher what happened and clear things up quickly. 1 hour passes, and I miss my favorite class. Then the teacher calls all 3 of us to the front. He says a quick sentence to the fighting students and then gives me mine. So next time there's a fight, what are you supposed to do? Me. Tell the teacher. So yes, I was sent to the counseling room for daring to attempt doing what they wanted me to do. Every time I tell my mom or sis how the food tastes, they ask me and I'm like, it's good, but it kinda tastes a little like soap. They were spitting mad, but weeks later my mom admitted that it was because she put too much ginger into the soup. A good friend of mine, to that time, got engaged with her girlfriend and she asked me what my opinion was and I said that I don't think that was a smart move because they only knew each other for a few weeks. She was pissed at me for several weeks. Dumb frick. There was the time my entire class was given a week's worth of detention at break, lunch, and after school because someone decided to throw a felt tip pen across the room. And the incredibly old teacher who should have retired about 15 years beforehand walked into its flight path. Somehow the felt tip of the pen cut her cheek. It was minor. There was a single drop of blood. You'd have thought that there was a school shooter by the way she reacted. Everyone was busy working hard on a history test, except 2 people. At the time no one knew what happened. We just heard a blood-curdling scream. You'd have thought the teacher had been dissembled by how much it shocked the entire class. The neighboring 5 classes heard it and thought someone had been killed. By the time we had realized what happened, the head teacher was in the room threatening all of us with police involvement for assault. When he said that, the 2 guys responsible came forward and one said that they chucked the pen to their mate so he could highlight a passage in his book, and the teacher walked in its path at the exact wrong time. But the head teacher didn't believe them. The worst thing was that the head teacher thought the entire class was covering for the 2 guys that actually did it, even after those guys tried to clear the rest of the class's names. So everyone ended up with a week's detention, and the guys responsible were internally excluded for a week and then had detention for another week. I used to be best friends with the guy that chucked the pen in middle school, and although we were in the same form room in high school, we had drifted apart a little bit. But I still knew when he was telling the truth or lying. And he was telling the truth about the teacher walking in the way at the wrong time. He personally apologized to everyone in the class for getting them in trouble. My French friend got a tourist visa for the United States. At the border control they asked her what her plans were. She said visiting tourist sites, seeing friends and volunteering in order to have housing. This is illegal under the tourist visa in the USA and she was sent back to France and put on the blacklist. All because she didn't just say that she was there for tourism. Poor girl. Expensive mistake. Work wanted to fire someone so they made some bull's excuse. Asked me to review security video and give my report which I did. They completely lied in court just to keep the guy from getting unemployment. Then they made my job heck for not playing ball. I was in an abusive relationship for a while. At one point, he held the gas down in the car and was accelerating towards a train that was passing by a mile ahead. He threatened to kill me if I didn't tell him the truth. I kept telling him the truth, and he kept pushing on the gas to go faster. I finally lied and told him what he wanted to hear, and he stopped, got out of the car and came to the other side, and just cried and begged me to kill myself for being a horrible person. I can't recall completely what he was wanting to hear. He was demanding that I admit to cheating on him. I think I hadn't, but even though I was telling him the truth, he was ready to kill me. Good lord, I am so sorry you ever had to experience something like that. I've seen unhinged, abusive fricks in the middle of their reign of terror, but never firsthand, and never something that crazy. Crap sounds traumatizing AF. I got laid off. Read fired nicely. I worked on a software development team for a company that makes bar games. The owner got this idea that we would try to put a Wi-Fi AP inside the cabinets of the machines and make it a hotspot and allow people to connect for a fee. So I get called into the meeting. Immediately there's tons of reasons it doesn't make sense. If the bar has Wi-Fi, nobody will use it, and most will have Wi-Fi. Cell data plans are negligible so people won't use the Wi-Fi. They suggested we try and partner with Verizon and put a cell data hotspot in there. Who will pay the bill? Because those charge on data used and it'll be a lot of data in a public place. The bar owner. No. Add to this, Comcast, who control an overwhelming portion of the market, had just started to roll out their Xfinity hotspot thing that makes basically every consumer modem router they issue into a Wi-Fi hotspot for Comcast customers. So everybody, there was no money to be made and only a lot of dev time to waste. So I argued against it pretty hard. I called it asinine and stupid. Eventually I was shuffled out of the meeting and the yes man version of me was brought in. Couple weeks later I was let go. I worked at a small business that had less than 10 employees, and I had been working there for about 12 years. During a meeting one day back in 2014 or so, my boss says he wants a funny, quirky viral commercial just like those Old Spice ones and wants us to make it. Then he asks my opinion about it. I politely, but firmly, explained that companies like Old Spice have very well paid marketing departments that do lots of market and demographic research for their commercials, and that if we try to make our own viral content, at best nothing will come of it and you will have wasted time and money, and at worst we will go viral in the bad way. He didn't like that and gave me the cold shoulder for like a month. 2014. I mean, you could have done the Harlem Shake. Everyone in Little League teams were doing that crap in 2013 and 2014. I was the one to disclose the infidelity in a long-term relationship. The party at fault was my friend that I had known for years. Over time, I became close with his girlfriend as we all used to hang out a lot. She's a super sweet girl, really smart. One of those girls where you wonder what he must do to keep her around because she could have any guy she wants. Anyway, I witnessed the start of it firsthand. Whenever she was out of town for work, which was every few weeks or so, he would go out to the bars and he'd get pretty flirty with women. Nothing over the line, but it was obvious what he was doing. Well, you can only hit on so many women before one of them take you up on the offer. Started having a fling with what seemed like the typical young naive college girl. I guess he just assumed that I'd consider this a matter of the bro code and ignore it. After I realized what was going on, I brought it up to him and he told me he was ending it, but was still going to tell his girlfriend anyway. Well, some more time went by and it became clear to me that this fling had not ended. I'm not sure exactly how often they were getting together, but it continued to happen even after she got back. I texted her and asked if I could come over to grab something I left at their place. A lie. I knew he wasn't home during the day, and I wanted to do it in person, so this was pretty much the best time. She was devastated. Completely turned her world upside down. I wasn't aware, but apparently she was actively turning down jobs so she could stay with him in the area. I helped her pack up some of her stuff and she moved in with her girlfriend before he even got home from work. He found out pretty quickly it was me that exposed him. He took it as an unforgivable betrayal. Something about me not having the right to mess with other people's relationships. He accused me of wanting to sleep with his girlfriend. True from a physiological standpoint, but I had made 0 attempts and I'm honestly just not that kind of guy. We haven't spoken in a little over 2 years and I'd say our friendship is very much severed. The few mutual friends we have tell me he talks crap about me anytime I come up. I honestly don't miss the friendship that much. He could be a really fun guy to hang out with, but as someone that has been cheated on in the past, it's almost impossible for me to just stand around and watch that happen to someone. His ex took one of those offers and got a really good job out of state. We still keep in touch. You did the right thing. Met this girl through some mutual friends. She was laying it on thick. Nicknamed me M&M because she wants me to melt in her mouth, not in her hand. Said I had a sexy voice, etc etc. After like 2 hours of this, with me barely responding trying to get away from her, I finally had enough and said, "You're trying way too hard and it's kind of sad." She spent the rest of the time telling people how much of an butthole I was. Sorry girl, but I just wasn't attracted to you, and made that abundantly clear, but you weren't taking the hints. I realize this sounds very awkward or bullshit, but hand to God, it's true. There's some physically unattractive who are sadly really emotionally unattractive too. She sounds like one them. I managed to ruin a long-term, but obviously worthless, friendship by simply telling the truth. I was starting to feel uncomfortable with the way he was interacting with other people. For example, we were out for coffee one day when this, obviously homeless, woman approached our table and asked for a few coins. Before I could say anything, he had jumped off his seat, started to imitate her in a disgusting way that simply broke my heart, before shooing her away as if she was some sort of stray dog. I couldn't believe what I had seen there, and it was not the only incident of this sort. When calmly telling him how I felt about this and trying to explain to him, and I really tried not to wave my finger, why it's not okay to speak to other people in such a manner, he told me that he couldn't take my moralizing behavior anymore. Friendship over. Though I do not regret that how this friendship ended, it still hurts a lot. Before shooing her away as if she was some sort of stray dog, I mean, imitating her is completely unneeded, but you generally need to be pretty firm when saying no to a lot of those people. A lot of them will keep asking you for money otherwise. I got sent to principal and got detention. This happened because one time I didn't do my homework and told my teacher. He asked why and I told him that I wasn't in the mood and too lazy for it. He somehow thought I was disrespecting him, so he sent me to the principal, who in turn didn't even listen and gave me detention. My mom was disappointed by the situation. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.